Let's talk about the beneficial ownership information requirement. It was part of a 2021 anti-money laundering statute and now requires anybody who's an owner or has substantial control over a corporation or LLC to report that information about the company and its owners to FinCEN. Now, what this requires is, number one, identifying whether your company is a reporting company. So if you're a foreign or domestic company that has filed a document with the Secretary of State to create the company, then you have a requirement and you're a reporting company. The question is whether you meet any of the exemptions. Now, there are several exemptions. That includes insurance companies, public accounting companies, banks, financial institutions, but also tax-exempt entities, as well as inactive companies. Now, the inactive company exemption is going to apply to a lot of people, so let's go through that real quick. The requirements are that you have to be formed before 2020. You can't be engaged in active business. You can't own any assets. And that could include owning trademarks. It doesn't really make a difference whether it's the passive or active assets, but you can't own any assets. You can't have transacted through a financial institution to receive or pay $1,000. And there can't have been a change in ownership in the last 12 months. And there's some other requirements. Look through the requirements, contact your tax attorney or a CPA. Feel free to call us if you have questions. Go through the requirements to make sure you are solid on the exemption, because if you determine that you're exempt and later on you're wrong, you could be subject to significant penalties of $591 a day that maxes out at $10,000, and that's a per year requirement. So I want to make sure you got that correct. Now, if you do have a reporting requirement, what has to be reported? Well, certainly the company information, EIN, address, those type of things about the company, but also about the owner. So who's a beneficial owner? Anybody that owns 25% or more of the company or has substantial control. And that could be any officer, which is a CEO, a treasurer, a secretary, or even the general counsel, which is the attorney for the company, or anybody that has the ability to control the financials of the company or the legal affairs, or even any of the board members. So it has pretty broad definition of who has substantial control over the company. So go through those. There are some exemptions even on individuals when they don't have to be reported. But if the individuals have to be reported, there's no maximum number. You have to report all of the people who are subject to that requirement. And the information that has to be reported is the name, social security number, birth date, address, and state identification or other forms of identification that are listed. And you have to upload a copy of that, a picture of that identification. So it's pretty significant. So make sure if your company meets the requirement and has an exemption, maybe it satisfies the exemption as well as the individuals. I'm John Milikowsky, founder of Milikowsky Tax Law. I hope this information was useful.